Welcome back to the Lumios Post, where we talk about all things Pokemon, and today we're going to be talking about something interesting about Scarlet and Violet. So obviously, when I say Pokemon Scarlet and Violet region, what is the first thing that comes to your head? That's right, Kalos. Like, seriously, that's what it's been the past few months, right? Like, every time there's a Scarlet and Violet theory, Kalos is somehow tied in, and I, of course, have definitely played my role in that. But today, I'm proposing an alternate theory, that Scarlet and Violet's region, Paldea, was not the place that Kalos fought against in the Great War from 3,000 years ago. No. It actually was not Kalos' adversary. In fact, quite the opposite. I think that Paldea may, in fact, have been an ally to the Kalos region in this war. So that leaves a lot of questions. Like, first off, okay, well then who was Kalos fighting? And I'm glad you asked. I'm torn between this one. I'm leaning one way, but I'm thinking either Galar, South Kalos, or a region that we have yet to see. You know, obviously, that's very possible. There could be an Italy region that we haven't seen yet, a Germany region that we haven't seen yet, another United States region that we haven't seen yet. I mean, there's all kinds of options, but I am leaning most towards this is probably a war against South Kalos. And the reason I think this is because there's a lot of reason to believe that AZ may have been fighting his brother in the Great War. And so, you know, certainly if you compare it to real world history, you know, like every person was like related to everybody when you get to royalty. But it is more likely that AZ's brother was the ruler of South Kalos rather than the ruler of Paldea, a whole nother region with a whole different culture from Kalos. So what does Paldea have to do with this? Well, the big contender for why people think that Kalos may have fought Paldea in this Great War is all boiling down to Area Zero and the Ultimate Weapon. People think that Kalos fired the Ultimate Weapon onto Paldea, and sure, the crater of Paldea was already there, but this created Area Zero, if you will. You know, there's two separate locations, the Great Crater of Paldea and Area Zero. Area Zero is in the Great Crater of Paldea, but they are not interchangeable. Area Zero has these crystals all over the place in it, and these crystals look very, very similar to the Ultimate Weapon. So some people think that this is just residue from the Ultimate Weapon. The reason that time-space is so different here, that the environment's so different here, where, you know, the professors can create advanced AI, and there can be time travel, and, you know, possibly even imagination coming to life, is because of the infinity energy that would be left over in Area Zero from being smacked by the Ultimate Weapon. This makes sense, right? I mean, you know, nuclear bombs leave nuclear radiation, so an infinity energy powered super weapon would likely leave behind infinity radiation, if you will. Well, I think that maybe we're looking at this backwards. What if instead of the rocks in Area Zero being from the firing of the Ultimate Weapon, we're looking at it backwards, and the Ultimate Weapon was actually created from the rocks in Area Zero. Now, the earliest known exploration of the Great Crater or Area Zero is obviously Heath's, which wasn't even 100 years ago. So that definitely is a lot more recent than 3,000 years ago when this war took place. But in 3,000 years, a lot can happen, and it's certainly likely that some records could be lost. I mean, you figure in the real world, you have to think the Middle Ages. That was, you know, like not even 1,000 years ago, and yet we don't have every record from the Middle Ages. So it makes sense that Pokemon may have, in the Pokemon world, they may have lost some records from 3,000 years ago, so they don't exactly know of another expedition to Area Zero, but perhaps there was one to farm these rocks, these Terra rocks, if you will. And I would even go further and state that maybe even these Terra rocks were more accessible in the higher parts of the crater, not just in Area Zero, and just they're not there anymore because of Paldea's farming of them. Now, these rocks obviously contain crazy power. I mean, they, for one, were used to build the time machine, so they are capable of infinity energy, it seems, because they're able to do wonders with time, space, and reality and all this, similar to how infinity energy is able to wipe out a whole population, like with the ultimate weapon, or restore hidden dormant genes to allow Pokemon to go further in evolution, like in Mega Evolution. So, sure, they'd farm this and would create their own weapons with it. Maybe this is even how the Paldean Empire could be born, is by farming these things and basically being advanced in technology. You know, like, they are essentially, by using these rocks, they have technology that is unfathomable. So they could take over anywhere. Maybe that's how the Paldean Empire was born. But let's go back to Kalos. So Kalos is having a war with South Kalos. Now, South Kalos would be, if we're looking geographically and comparing it to our world, it would be in between Kalos and it will be in between Paldea. So it's right in the middle of those two. So if the Paldean Empire is looking to expand their empire, Kalos, after losing AZ's Floette, AZ could go to Paldea and basically propose to whatever emperor or king is there, hey, look, I want to defeat South Kalos. I want to defeat what they've done to my Floette. I want vengeance for it. You're looking to expand. So I say, you and I go halvesies here. You help me defeat them. We split their land. Very common thing in real world wars. Often countries will ally together on the promise that they can get land from it. You know, Russia has been looking for a warm water port for like forever. That's basically what their primary goal throughout history and their war motives were. So that's the same thing here. Paldea is like, okay, that does sound interesting. We would like to expand. So yes, we're hearing your offer. Here's what we've got. We've got these rocks here. These rocks are capable of wondrous things. We're going to give you some of these rocks. You can create a weapon that can wipe out the entire population of South Kalos. Kalos is like, you know what? I think that might just do it. They get these rocks from Paldea. They build this ultimate weapon. Obviously, this is enough rocks to make any rocks at the top of the crater disappear. They'd need all of it. They needed a ton of rocks to build this ultimate weapon. It's huge. So they build this ultimate weapon. They fire it on South Kalos. It destroys so many people. And then perhaps in a change of heart, AZ, you know, once his Floette is reunited with him and is horrified by what he's done to South Kalos, he relinquishes his land, the piece that he won from South Kalos, back to South Kalos. Now, Paldea, they've still got their piece. You know, they're still holding on to that. They're looking to build an empire. But later on down the road, when the Paldean Empire dissolves, they, in goodwill, give it back to their neighbors so that they can have their whole region once again. And this would be how Paldea is on good terms with them now and would still tie Paldea into the war, but not in the way we think. I think because Infinity Energy and the Ultimate Weapon was introduced in Kalos, we immediately jump to, okay, well, this has to be, you know, where it came from. This created Area Zero, but, you know, maybe the alternative is that Area Zero's rocks led to the creation of the Ultimate Weapon. You know, we're looking at it backwards. Be sure to let me know what you think of this theory in the comments below. Do you think that it's possible that instead of fighting Paldea, Kalos may have been fighting with Paldea, like together, not against? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Be sure to also like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss all our future Pokemon videos. You know, there's a lot of talk of Scarlet and Violet DLC around the corner, and hopefully we might get some answers to any connections with Kalos, perhaps helping them defeat South Kalos. And if we get any information like that, you know we'll be covering it here. Until next time, I will see all of you later.